Good morning. At this time, we would like to call to order the Middlebury Redevelopment Commission meeting for May 28th. At this time, roll call. Everyone's present other than Don Anderson. The minutes were presented in your packet. We would entertain a motion.
I'd move to approve as submitted.
Don, motions? Need
Second.
Second by Mike. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting the minutes of the May 13, 2026 meeting as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Nay. Motion passes. At this time, we'd like to open for public comments. Hearing none, we close public comments. Old business. Orpha Drive Phase 1 and 2 bid advertisements.
I just wanted to update you. The Orpha Drive project is out to bids, and bids will be due, I think it's June 15th at the town council meeting, and so then we'll have everything ready by the redevelopment commission meeting with the bids and summaries and all of that, contracts. So.
Thank you. New business, annual TIF presentation by Baker Tilly.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Jason Simler with Baker Tilly. Good to see you again. As was mentioned, this is kind of the time where we do our annual report. Again, it's if you remember, it's now required by the state that we do this report, present this information, and write the overlapping tax units. It kind of also corresponds with your annual decision, I think, to make a determination whether you want to pass through any assessed value or you keep all that revenue to help fund, projects, that benefit the town. And have you made that determination yet? Or is that later today? Yeah. Okay, just let that know. So it kind of goes hand in hand. I know we try to coordinate these about the same time. So with me this year is Greg Pisano. He's new, but he's kind of the brains behind the scenes, helped me put this information together. So wanted him to be here, introduce the group as well this year. Again, kind of in the past, we'll talk about the specific areas, and so be happy to answer any questions that you have about the specific TIF areas of the town, but also if you have general questions about TIF, I know this is kind of a good opportunity to have that dialogue, just to talk about TIF in general, so happy to do that as well. So if you do have any questions as I go through here, feel free to stop me, and I'll be happy to try to answer them. But we'll jump right into the PowerPoint presentation, and if you turn to page 3, we'll talk about the town's first TIF area, Elroy Drive. You can see there at the top of the schedule, we still show kind of when the areas were created and then expanded. And still, we talked about this before, but TIF areas created in the time that you created yours, they have a 25-year life, but that life doesn't start until we obligate those to bonds or leases. And so far, the town hasn't done that. So at least under current law, that 25-year clock hasn't started. I've always kind of warned you that, I think that could change. Legislators could put a sunset date eventually on these. But right now, unless you decide to dissolve the areas early, these could go on forever under current law. At the bottom of the page there, we do kind of work with the auditor's office and kind of track the settlement just to make sure there aren't any, large appeals or delinquencies. And you can see in 2025, we estimated $1,998,000. You collected just right underneath that, so it tells me that taxpayers are paying and paying on time. And then you can see in 2026, we're estimating about the same amount, $1,994,000 this year. And you should be getting your spring settlement the end of next month in June. So. Next page, page 4. Again, just one of the requirements of this meeting is to kind of explain, what you're using the TIF for, the intent of creating these areas. So we just put, again, this is not an all-inclusive list, but just some of the main projects that you have funded with TIF over the years. Again, just so the public is aware of all the good deeds you've done with the revenue that you've collected. So again, not an all-inclusive list, but you can see a lot of this is mostly public infrastructure. So again, we've talked about before, it's really taking the property taxes that the companies pay and putting it back into the area for the benefits that they're using. And it helps the taxpayers, because it provides the infrastructure that they need to operate. Also helps the town because now the town doesn't have to pay for those infrastructure projects through their general fund. So it's a kind of a win-win for everyone. Page 5, working with Mary, and I appreciate Mary for your help. She helped us put this list together. Again, this isn't necessarily all-inclusive, but some of the projects that are potentially in line to be paid this year and next year. And as you can see, continually, a lot of public infrastructure projects. And I mentioned earlier that they do benefit the companies, but a lot of these do benefit the residents of the town as well, as you very well know. So it's just not a benefit to the companies, but a benefit to all the residents of the town of Middlebury. And then it continues on to page 6, a few more, again, infrastructure projects. And then on page 7 is some proposed future projects. Again, nothing's been committed towards these, but just things that may have been talked about or contemplating using future TIF for. So again, showing the public that the $2 million that you're collecting a year, it is going to a good use for the community, and those are your intentions, and which also helps make it easier and help you justify your determination later whether you have any excess assessed value or not to pass through. Any questions with Elroy Drive? If not, skip to page 9, the downtown area. Again, you can see it was first created in 2017 and been expanded a couple of times. You can see about $400,000 is what we collected in 2025, and same thing in 2026. And I would look at something that we did look at this year. I know we kind of talked about this a little bit last year with Senate Bill 1. That's something that we're kind of monitoring. With Senate Bill 1, there are additional deductions and exemptions that companies are getting that they have not received in the past. So that's great for the taxpayer because in theory, that reduces their property taxes. That's bad for TIF because it reduces their TIF. So there are a number of parcels that are receiving, that are now, maybe not only because of Senate Bill 1, but just because of over time, some properties depreciate. So as you know, when we designate an allocation area, all that assessed value that is there, that's the base. And those property taxes that are paid from the base go to fund the town's budget, school's budget, township, the county. Well, if that current assessment drops below the base, any growth has to fill that up because we don't want to hurt the base. We don't want to hurt the budget, the school, the town. So there are a number of parcels, a couple $100,000 combined in both areas that are now where the base is above the current NAV. So it's really dragging down the TIF. So that's something that we may want to consider. We can just carve out and take those parcels out, and that would generate more TIF for the town, if you like. So that's something that, and that's probably going to continue and get a little bit worse as those deductions. Luckily, you don't have that many with deductions, but that's something that we may want to think about if you're looking at maybe increasing your revenue more immediately. That's something we can do. But right now, based upon the actual 2026 assessed values and tax rates, we're looking at about $400,000 in the downtown area. Page 10 looks at the 2026 and 27 budgets. Again, a lot of infrastructure type projects being funded from the TIF. And then page 11, some proposed future projects. Again, not an all-inclusive list, just some projects that have been discussed. And that definitely can be amended as things come in front of the board. And then the last page, I'll kind of skip to page 13. This is a schedule that, we always kind of show, and it's one of the requirements, is kind of showing the impact of the allocation areas that they have on the overlapping taxing units. So you can see the top of the page, Middlebury Corporation, consists of the county, the township, the city, or the town, sorry, the school, and the library. If you add up all their tax rates, that's how you get the $2.51 property tax rate that's on page 13 there. You're capturing, if you look in the box there in the middle of the page, all the new assessed values, so all the growth that has occurred in both of your areas since we first created them is about $95,784,000. You take that times the tax rate, you have a small amount of circuit breaker of $30. You can see in the far right side of that box there, that's the $2,406,000. So that's the TIF that you collect for both your areas in 2026. So at the bottom of the page just illustrates if we decided that we didn't have any projects that we wanted to fund and we wanted to pass through that entire $95 million of assessed value, what that would look like. And that's what it looks like on the bottom of page 2. So if you look at Middlebury, I've highlighted that in gray there. If you kind of look at the estimated property tax levy, you can see that the $2,929,000, that's the amount of the town's budget that's payable from property taxes. You can see on the top of the page and the bottom of the page, that number doesn't change. And that's because the state dictates how much we can levy on property taxes. So it doesn't matter, what we do with the TIF area. It doesn't matter if you have a manufacturing company that comes in here and invests, $20 million and brings in 1,000 jobs. We can't raise a penny more because we're at the max. But if you look at the top of the page, the tax base of the town right now is $444 million. If we were to, if you decided, last year that you wanted to end the TIF area and pass through all $95 million, your tax base for the town would have increased to $540 million. You can see at the top of the page, right now the town has a 65-cent tax rate, 0.6594. If you would have passed through that assessed value, you can see the town's tax rate would have decreased by about 12 cents to 54 cents. And you can see that the CUMCAP Development Fund underneath that, it has a 5-cent tax rate. That's, we call that a rate-driven fund. That rate doesn't change, so as your AV goes up or down, you can collect more or less revenue. So if you were to pass through $95 million, the town would collect an extra $47,000 in their CCD fund. And we did that for all the different units you can see there that make up the taxing district of Middlebury. And you can see if you would have passed through all $95 million this year, your tax rate would have went down about 18 cents, from $2.51 to $2.32. And this city would have received an extra $47,000 in the CUMCAP Development Fund. However, you would not be receiving that $2.4 million in TIF that you're currently receiving. So I know we've talked about this in years before, but I always like to bring it up for the audience. As long as you have projects that you need to fund, it probably makes more sense for you from the town's perspective to capture that $95 million, collect the $2.4 million, and fund those projects versus passing it through and reducing your tax rate by 18 cents. And I know I've mentioned this before because a lot of the misconception out there is if you were to end the TIF area and pass through that assessed value, that $2.4 million gets allocated and split up amongst the town and the county, the library, and they all get new money. But as we mentioned, in Indiana, the way the property taxes work, we're all at a cap. We can't collect any more, except for those small funds. So again, from the town's perspective, you get more bang for your buck by collecting the revenue, and you're able to fund a lot more projects that way. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Based on the information you said of the law changing with the deductions for some of the assessed value, is it your recommendation that we look at excluding some of those areas so that the TIF money is not affected?
If you have more projects than what you do revenue coming in, which that's the case for most communities, I mean, anything you can do to get more revenue, I think it's a positive thing. And I think do you remember how much we added, how much more TIF?
It's about, if you remove all the negatives, it's probably $50,000 to $70,000 of abatement TIF a year,
Combined?
combined for both areas.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's totally up to the board. We would have to amend your area and remove those parcels, which that's the same step as creating TIF areas. It would start here, where you would, amend your declaratory resolution, amend your parcel list. Then it would go to the planning commission, then town council, and then back here for a public hearing. So it takes a couple months, process.
So based on your experience, is that enough to make a difference to go through all of that?
Yeah, I mean, you might take, we'd have to put together like an impact statement to send to all of like taxing units to show what the impact would be, because we would be removing some base. But we're probably talking, I don't know, $15,000-$20,000, to have that done, to collect $60,000 or $70,000 a year for 25, 30 years. So it probably is worth it.
Sounds like it.
And we are, not trying to, sway you in a way, but we are doing this for a lot of communities. A lot of communities with larger TIF areas, having a much bigger impact than $60,000 or $70,000. But that's, over time, that could fund, quite a bit more roads and stuff that you're funding, so. So I think it's definitely something, and we can send Mary the list of parcels, and you can kind of look at which ones are, generating negative increment and make a more informed decision whether we do want to, because there could be a couple of them that are, they've gone down, but you think, no, there could be some future development in the near future that we may want to keep, that you may know that we don't, so.
I think it might be a good idea to get that information, at least to make a better decision.
Agreed.
Yeah, we could send that to you. Thanks.
Thank you, Jason. And forgive me, Craig, right? Greg, thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Is that something we can just add to, or when we get the information, is add to one of our future meetings?
For discussion?
I'm sure.
Sure.
Yeah, we have the list, we can send it today.
Oh, okay.
That'd be awesome.
Perfect.
That'd
Thank
be
you.
great.
Again, thank you to all the staff at Baker Tilly, for the report and everything, and again, coming alongside and helping us realize, where we're at and where we're going. So we appreciate that. So thank you. Okay. Next, resolution for 2026-04, confirming and directing the Elroy Drive TIF tax proceeds for 2027.
And these are the pass-through determination resolutions that Jason was mentioning at the beginning of his presentation. Generally, we've always felt that we need the money that we collect from the tax increment for use on various redevelopment projects. So over the years, we've decided not to pass through the increment down to the taxing units because of the net benefit to the town. So this first resolution is for the Elroy TIF district. And then, so that's basically making that determination that we will not be passing down or passing through any of our tax increment to the underlying taxing units and keeping that in our budget.
So if we need to make a motion to approve that, let's get it started, and I make the first motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion by John and a second by Mike. Any further discussion?
You need a duplicate for the next one? They're the same,
Yeah, the next one's from Millbury Town to
Yeah.
downtown TIF.
a ditto, I would say we do that again.
I'll ditto the second.
It has to be more formal.
We need a vote on the
Verbally.
first motion.
Yeah, let's
Oh.
do the first one.
Oh, okay.
Okay, any other discussion on this current motion for the 2026-04 Elroy Drive TIF. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. We'll now entertain a motion for Resolution 2026-05 confirming and directing the downtown TIF tax proceeds for 2027.
I make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion by John, second by Mike. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes. Next on the agenda, certification regarding the tax increment replacement amount.
So, redevelopment commissions can, I believe on an annual basis, they need to make the determination whether or not they're going to impose a tax increment replacement levy. And that's just an additional tax to replace any increment that's lost due to factors outside of the control of the redevelopment commission, like SB1 or some legislative action that reduces assessed values. It only particularly applies when we have an obligation that we need to meet, where we have projected TIF revenue, and then because of some other factor, there's going to be a shortfall, and we need to make up for that with a levy. At this time, we don't really have any obligations, no bonds, so usually we just like to have a record making the determination each year that we're not imposing that levy, and so that's what this certification is.
I will make a motion that we pass the certification to not increase the levy based on.
Not impose a levy.
Not impose a levy, based on no shortfall being forecast.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mike and a second by Don. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion passes. Next on the agenda is Heron Environmental Proposal for 109 Grand Street, further site investigation. Mary?
Morning.
Morning.
Does everyone have a copy of that?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, could you please state your name?
Sure. Jim Bennett with Heron Environmental.
Thank you, Jim.
Sorry, this is a little more formal than last time. You guys.
We're trying, we're
Where's the folding tables?
yeah, we're trying.
Okay. So I guess the last time we spoke, what was presented was a groundwater investigation, which was completed. Good news is there's not really significant groundwater contamination. I had kind of estimated that groundwater flow would be to the northeast based on data from some other properties in town. So we looked to the northeast corner of the property and off-site along the trail there, and we didn't find anything. We did find some groundwater contamination on the northern portion of the property, which was a little unexpected. We have I don't want to get too bogged down in the jargon here, but there's a discontinuous perched aquifer. So we have clay at about 35 feet, and we have some groundwater that's a perched aquifer on top of that, but it's discontinuous. So we didn't have groundwater. When we drilled on the southern portion of the property and on the western portion of the property, we did not encounter groundwater on top of that clay, but as we moved north, we did. So that's likely having some effect on the groundwater flow direction, or we have a second source area on that northern portion of the property, so it's potential for a second area of some soil contamination there. So proposing to do some additional investigation in that area would be some soil gas samples, similar to what we did on other areas of the property, which are going to tell us if there's a high likelihood that there's some soil source contamination in that area, and then some off-site groundwater delineation to the north across the adjoining street there, which would be dependent on getting some either right-of-way access or access agreements with the neighboring properties that will prefer to stay in the right of way if we can, but depending on what the utility infrastructure is there, that may not be practical. If there's utilities in that area, then we'll have to move onto the credit union property, and there's a residential property there, and I would just communicate with them to get access agreements. Those would just be borings to drill down and get some groundwater samples. I don't anticipate there being a significant potential for off-site contamination there. The concentrations were fairly low, but they were above, the level. So we need to delineate that just to verify that there's no potential for significant contamination, because sometimes those concentrations can, increase dramatically once you get down gradient a little bit further, depending on where we're at in that plume and how it's moving. But that will allow us to have a little better understanding of, hopefully at that point, know exactly what we're dealing with groundwater contamination wise, and best case scenario would be that what we see on the northern portion of the property is essentially it. And I mean, concentrations have really been low, so I don't think that there's much concern for groundwater contamination here. The concern really is going to be dealing with the soil contamination. If the town is still considering a town hall development there on that northern portion of the property, the additional sampling that we're going to do is going to allow us to determine if there's a soil source there that's going to have to be, we talked about on that more central area of the property where we had the source area that potentially, costs with excavating that and getting that off-site. So if we do have another area of soil contamination on that northern portion of the property, that would need to be addressed for the city hall development, just, making sure that that's being managed and disposed of properly. Hopefully we don't have any additional soil contamination up there. If the soil gas concentrations all come back favorable, then that would just mean that the groundwater is actually migrating north from the source area that we've already identified. And at that point, it would just be a matter of looking at the proposed development on the property. We still would have a soil management plan in place for managing those soils that are being moved, but in the absence of any contamination, you're not going to have that significant cost to deal with disposal. And then it's just a matter of dealing with the potential vapor intrusion concern and vapor mitigation in the building, which isn't going to be significant expense in the grand scheme of the construction costs. So open it up to questions from you guys.
So it's just the two sample areas marked with the X, just one on the property and one on the SHI-phone.
Yeah, so.
Just the two? That's all that are needed?
Yeah, the red X's would be the groundwater samples, and then the green on the northern portion of the property, those are the soil gas locations. But yeah, as far as drilling off-site, it's just those two locations
Okay.
there. And
Okay.
So this would be this clarification, will this be the third kind of going out and boring?
this will be number 5, actually.
Yeah, because we did the
Since the last time?
Because we did ones
Oh,
over
no,
these.
so, I mean, this is the 5th phase of my work. I mean, so we started with the initial soil gas, and we expanded the soil gas with some soil, well, I guess, no, this would be number 4.
Maybe I would rephrase, will this be the last one?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I go that way.
Well,
Seems like we keep scratching
Depends
this
on
itch.
what we find.
Right.
It gets further and
Well, that's
further.
kind of what we have to do, because you have to kind of move out in increments. Otherwise, if we just go out and just put a bunch of sampling points everywhere and we don't have a problem, then we ended up spending a bunch of money and collecting a bunch of data that didn't provide us any information. So we typically do it incrementally. But yes, this should be, I mean, barring there being significant groundwater contamination off-site, this would be the last investigation step that we would do. And again, I don't anticipate there being, concentrations on site were 7.3 and 3.2, and we're dealing with a a level of 5 is what we're working at. So the 7.3 is a little bit above that, which is what requires us to define that further down gradient, which is what I'm trying to do here. And we want to verify that because really the concern would be with off-site migration, if you getting contamination that's getting underneath the Federal Credit Union or the residential property, then you have potential vapor intrusion concern at those properties as well. So we want to verify that that's not the case. We have verified that to the east and northeast, and now we just want to verify it to the north. And once that's done, then yeah, we shouldn't have any need to go out and do any further. I mean, the soil gas testing that I'm proposing will, if we're seeing high soil gas concentrations, and that's indicative that we have another source in the soil, so we would want to at least identify where that's at, but that's going to come down to ultimately what's being proposed for the property and whether that soil is going to need to be excavated or not. There's really no reason to go out there and start getting soil samples until we know we're ready and going to be moving it.
These two, I'm sorry.
I would say, that gets a little bit out of my question. It's like you mentioned about that north side of that property potentially being some type of building in the future or whatnot. If that entire parcel was to become a parking lot or some type of just open green space or something of that nature, would this further investigation be necessary? Is it only necessary because of the potentiality for some type of building on the property?
The groundwater sampling is necessary because we need to define if we have off-site migration to the north and verify that we don't have any potential to vapor intrusion to the adjoining properties. The soil gas sampling that I've proposed on site is really meant to identify a source associated with a development, a building going on that northern portion of the property. If the entire property is just going to be used as green space or as a parking lot, then knowing if there's a second source area up there really isn't significant, because again, the whole purpose of knowing if we have soil contamination is so we can have a management plan to address that during development. And the parking lot is the
mitigating
remediation.
process, right?
That's our engineered cap if we decide to put a parking lot there.
If the two samples that are north fall below that 5 level, then
Correct.
we're pretty much,
Yeah.
we've wrapped up the,
Yeah, then that basically is determined that we have, a little bit of groundwater contamination on the property, but it's confined to the property, and the groundwater contamination really, in and of itself, isn't the concern here. It's the vapor. Potential but again, that groundwater's fairly deep, and at these concentrations, there's really minimal potential for there being significant off-site concern and vapor intrusion concerns at adjoining properties. But it's one of those things that in the absence of knowing it, we're just assuming, but so getting the data verifies that and alleviates any potential liability to the town associated with it.
If those on the north side of Warren were to be higher, is it possible the contamination could be on their site, not coming from ours?
Not likely, just because there's no documented history on those properties that would have, been the source of that. We have, documented source areas on our property. So, I mean, we would have to see something, it would have to be really bizarre, concentrations wise.
yeah, sure.
Or obviously something in the soil itself, but I don't see that.
Just in your experience or
Yeah.
years of?
But that's mostly been residential to that area historically, so it's unlikely that there would be a second source up there.
So do we need to make a motion to continue this, or?
Yeah, because I believe we're asking for funds for this next soil testing.
Yeah.
This next series. Forgive me, the amount.
$6,750.
Yes, yes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the $6,750 for the soil gas implant installation and laboratory analysis field activities to confirm the groundwater contamination stop, hopefully, on this property.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mike motions, Don seconds. Any further discussion?
Still don't know what we're doing with this, right? This is still a up-in-the-air project that we,
Well, I mean, but don't we need to do diligence, since we do own it?
I think it'll also help us determine what the best course of action is going forward. So is it to put it back out to bid for somebody else, or, so at least we have the ability to say, we tested it and we know it stops here, if that's the case, right? So we'll be able to say, yeah, at whatever time in the past, somebody contaminated that soil. However, we know it's in this location. If we or somebody else builds, now we know you got to do some sort of vapor mediation or something. Now there's a plan to at least present either for ourselves, the town, or some other developers, say, we did all this testing, here we go. Because trying to put it out for bids, what cost us in the first place, in the first sample borings, so.
Yeah, ultimately, the purpose of all of this is to reduce the liability to the town associated with the contamination that's there. It documents that you took reasonable steps to identify any potential exposure pathways and verify that there was no off-site contamination and potential exposure pathways to the adjoining properties.
Very good question. I mean, whether we use it as parking, farmer's market.
we're going to be in the most expensive town of the parking lots.
There's a lot.
Oh,
of
I'm sure
very
there's more.
expensive parking lots.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure there's
Buying
more.
houses and tearing them down, and
Oh, I'm sure there's more parking lots in the state of Indiana alone that cost more than that to get them prepared.
Yeah,
it seems like a lot of money, but
it
Yeah.
does, but we want to make sure that we're protecting the residents and doing due diligence. And
Well, and we just had a call, I think, last week or the week before about this piece of property from a developer. So, and it was commercial developer. So I think there's still interest.
And we just raised the price by $6,750.
yeah. Yeah, the price keeps going up.
What are you saying? We're making it more valuable?
That's right. So then we charge
It's
them.
it's an investment?
That's right. So we charge them. That's right. We'll get it back.
Before we take this vote, any further discussions? Hearing none, the motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor of this new site investigation, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion passes. Next on the agenda, agreement, thank you, Jim, we appreciate it. Agreement addendum for MACOG for the Hardwood Lift Station project.
So this agreement addendum is for, their completion date in their original agreement was September of 2025, and that project has gone, and it's supposed to be complete in September of 2026 this year. So, and basically all they're doing is helping us with the interviews with the workers, because we're having federal funds involved, and so you have to do interviews and all of the certification of payroll, and so that's what they're helping us with. So it's just to extend the date, completion date.
No funds or anything?
No additional
just-
funds.
Just
no.
extend the date out.
I'd move we approve the amended agreement with MACOG as presented.
Second.
Don motions, Mike seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes. Next request to advertise for bids for the home at 205 East Warren Street to be moved or relocated?
I don't know, where are we at with this?
Sure. So I sort of see two avenues to deal with the house. One being we would bid it out like a public works demolition project with a salvage credit to a responsible bidder. And the other would be to go through the real property sale disposition, similar to what we did with the 109 Grand Street, where depending on the assessed value or the appraised value, we need to get appraisals for the structure and sell that, and then sort of do it that way. The draft I have at your stations, your seats here, is sort of a potential way to do it via the Public Works statute, where we're basically contracting to demolish, but it includes them moving it, so it's a salvage, and so the lowest bidder is the base work minus the salvage credit. Theoretically, that could result in a negative number, which said negative number would go to redevelopment, and that would also constitute the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. So that's what I put together. It's one way to do it. Mary might have thoughts on which way she feels she'd like to do it between those two. Those are the two ways I see of dealing with the removal and moving of the actual house. But I guess if you have any particular direction, one way or the other.
I was coming at it from a property owner, like if somebody wanted to actually purchase the structure and move it, that's how I was coming at it from. And so like, this is the document that's here is what is considered what's a public works bid. So it is, like contractors know this stuff. A homeowner or, like somebody that wants, like, John, if you want to move this house, you would go get a contractor to do it. But I was envisioning like you submitting how much you're willing to, like, say if it's $1, and then you're hiring the contractor to move it. So that's how I was envisioning, but I don't know all the laws, so.
And that, we could do it that way if we did sort of the real estate sales
Right.
process. It just takes longer. And I think the issue there is a lot of these, and maybe a lot of these terms that are going to be covered in the public bidding contract already are going to need to be part of that offer for sale, because, you got to do, we can't just let you do whatever, you can't bring on your
Well,
forklift and try to move the house or something like that.
And maybe this does it all in one swoop. So if we don't get a contractor or somebody that wants to like move it or relocate it somewhere, then we already have bids to demo.
Right, and
Correct?
I guess the way I have it structured is that it's just for it doesn't necessarily contemplate demolition at this point. But we could tweak it very slightly to accommodate that. And this would be essentially the same package. We could resend out again if we didn't get any responses for salvage credit and just change it to a demolition.
And that's this one.
That's that one.
So which of these,
The other one is just an exhibit to this package is the contract.
okay. So of the two methods, which are the most advantageous to the commission and the most timely?
I think, well, there's some practical considerations. As far as the quickest, I saw the Public Works contract as being the quickest, because I believe this would qualify for just getting 3 quotes, because I think the base work would be less than $50,000. So you could solicit 3 quotes that way, and then it just needs to be, we could approve it at the next meeting. I think the property disposition statutes for redevelopment are more time-consuming. We have to get appraisal, and then we'd have to advertise it twice, once a week apart, 10 days before the next public meeting. I don't know if we'd have enough time to get all that done before the next meeting. So it might push it back 1 month.
And is there do either of these methods help or reduce liability to the commission on whichever
I
way
think we
get
would be able to
disposed of?
cover that either way we did
Okay.
it. I think the benefit to the disposition statute would be, like Mary says, somebody who just is gonna buy property can actually like just bid on it, and then while there's all these terms and conditions that come with it, they can pass it on to their contractor and do it. Under this, it sort of needs to be someone with that sophistication making that bid, which is the difference.
So or a contractor that actually moves houses is going to have to make this bid.
What I recall, I mean, I understand that, I think I voted against purchasing the property, but part of the reason that, I think part of the reason, the primary reason to purchase it was to get the house demolished, get it removed, so that it could create more parking for downtown. I don't know, I can't remember all the discussions about why, all of a sudden now we're talking about trying to salvage the house or sell it, but it seems to me if our goal for purchasing it was to create more parking, we should move forward to do that as fast as possible, because that's why we got it.
Yeah, I think, and that was the intent, and I think it was only after we purchased it, some people came forward expressing interest in, hey, maybe we would get it and move it for you, and that might save the commission some costs in demolition. We wouldn't have to pay for demolition. It would essentially be either a zero or net benefit to us if people purchased it and moved it. But it does create some complication in the actual figuring all that out. And making
But not time-wise. The timeliness
Yeah, I mean,
appears
we
to
would
be the
still have
Public
to-
Works.
Assuming no one ever came forward, we'd still have to be doing this Public Works bid to demolish it.
Correct. Right.
Yeah.
But that could that Public Works bid to demolish could turn into, I want to move it. As the
The one
demolition being
before you
moving.
has that
Yes,
as a potential.
got it.
I would think if you put one Public Works piece that would cover both, it gives we've done our best to address the interest, and if there's not enough interest, we move forward with the demo, and we don't waste any time.
Okay.
And if we end to the point we don't have to pay for the demo, when somebody wants to move it, that'd be a win-win-win.
Even if it does take a little longer to move it.
Yeah,
In
and
the
it
timeline,
will.
because we're,
It will
not
take
that
longer.
we're going to do anything, we're not going to pave it next week or next month.
Well, that was the other piece, is that we move fast, but we're not gonna pave it for, what, till next year? A year out?
So we have time, in other words, what you're saying, we have time.
But there's a lot of work, I mean, if somebody moves quickly and wants to move it, I don't know how quickly it is, a month or whatever, there's still prep time this year. Like, we got weather to do work this year, where we don't want to drag
Well,
it
I
out
mean,
too long.
I guess my thing in terms of when you're doing it, but you can, if you have the site removed, so you can start doing your design and all that stuff this year, so you can bid it, so it's ready to go for construction season next year, but
Right.
if this takes a whole lot of time into the fall, then you're losing your design window, your bid window, and you're pushing things back even further.
That triggered my original question about which one is the more timely, which one gets us to the result quicker.
I will say if we're favoring the Public Works bidding methodology, I sort of think maybe it would be, I guess maybe you guys just direct me on whichever way you want to go on this. Right now, it's sort of anticipating someone having a salvage credit, because we've had people express interest, so it doesn't really say, like, you can just demolish it if it doesn't work out. It's you're going to do it, because you're going to say you're going to do it. Changing it to be more broad can bog down the bid package and make it really complicated for what would end up being like a $30,000 to $35,000 project. So I don't know. I'm happy to do that, to try to address all those contingencies. The other option would be, we've got one, we can maybe a couple more tweaks and then get it out, see if we get any bites at the next meeting. If not, then we send out a standard demolition
Yeah,
works package.
yeah.
Keeping it as simple as possible is the best way to go. We don't drag this thing out.
It might, yeah, I don't know if we'll get a response. It might push it back another month, just like that other situation, but then it would sort of, at least it would be, let's see if anyone wants to do it this way, then we'll see if anyone wants to
Yeah.
do it that way.
Yeah.
Gives options.
Yeah.
If that's the fastest and the cheapest, it seems like that's the way to go.
Yes.
What do you think, Mary?
I've never bid a project this way, but it's okay. we'll get it.
You have a
I'm
preference?
going to have a lot of questions, I think, that I'm going to have to deal with the contractors a lot, but it's okay.
Oh, you have Jackson's phone number.
Yeah, I guess,
I'll
I would
just say,
say,
call Jackson.
the only real difference is that salvage credit and how that works. I mean, otherwise, it's meant to be a standard, like,
Yeah.
public works contract at this applicable level.
I get it. It's
yeah.
just,
Do you have to have three? So if we only have one?
You have to
or
request quotes
two?
from 3 people.
But if we don't get enough, then it doesn't,
I don't even
You
know
just
if
have to
there's 3
request it.
house
Just have to
movers.
request three. You don't have to get three.
oh, you don't have to get three, okay.
just request
I thought we'd have to.
Yeah, because that's based under the public bidding, based on the size of
Yeah.
the project, and this is a small scope thing, so these are the applicable rules.
So if we
Yeah, I guess-
get one, we can take it or not.
Yeah, I mean, I get that the salvage credit would be unusual for some people when you're looking at it, but I think it just in terms of time, I mean, I get what you're talking about, the idea where somebody might say, well, they're gonna purchase it, and then they hire a contractor and they deal with all that. But then, I don't know, I think in that my thinking on that is that we just lose control over the time at that point.
True.
And you get in a mess because then you have too many people, where this gives us some ability to
Control it.
control it. We have a set process, we're governed by that, and if somebody really wants to move it, they'll figure out how to work with a contractor, or a demo person may figure that out, but I think it makes sense to move forward and get it done, so we can at least, if we're gonna
N-
get parking, get
yeah.
that
Yeah.
design work done.
And I did confirm that if they put all the axles down, as many axles as they have, they can get across that bridge going to the east, so.
And if we are thinking about, letting this out as soon as possible, a couple of questions I might have. Well, one was, outside of the scope of this is the site preparation. It's just removal of the house, and the basement will still be there. But there are requirements that they put up, safety measures to make sure people don't, like, walk into the basement, or something like that.
Put up like orange,
Yeah, mhm.
orange or construction fence type thing, yeah.
And is there any direction you want as to the timeline, assuming we're able to award it at the next meeting and we get someone responsive? How soon would we want to put a timeline for them to start work or have the project completed at?
The next day too soon?
As soon as
Maybe.
possible.
Can I come in with one question?
Within how many days from the notice to proceed and? I
Right.
don't know.
I don't know, how long does it take to get power lines and all that stuff approved? Because
So if we
you just
do-
can't move a house, you gotta have,
If we do 60, then
Well,
that,
and a foundation for it to sit on and.
yeah. That delays everything.
Because, I mean,
I
you have
guess
to go
suppose they
through-
could move it and they don't set it on a foundation right away.
correct.
I think a little longer is going to be a little more reasonable, 60 days, not long.
60 days to begin. Have to have it
After
done.
the notice to proceed.
60 days to start, not to be done,
Well,
right? Or do we want both ends? 60 days to begin and,
To be completed in 120 days.
or whatever. But again, if we go too long, points made, if we go too long, we lose out opportunity, late summer, fall. There are two.
yeah, this
prep
is for the
work
completion date. We were
Okay.
saying 60, so we're
Okay.
thinking,
That's tight.
So are we
to
not
be
requiring
complete.
them to return it to grade?
the idea was Public Works was going to do that work.
Okay.
Our department was.
dig out the basement, because I mean, it's just a Michigan basement, and some of it's not stable.
Easy to fill. It'll be easy to, well, not
Yeah,
easy,
I mean, it would,
Yeah.
part of the, talked before about like random, storm runoff and things of that nature, I just would be worried
need-
about
we want to
having the
control
time to
that.
make sure that is done, because otherwise that's gonna
Can we
be
move the dirt from the
a
other
quick
project and put it in the hole?
eyesore for the town.
Just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, again, having Public Works do it gives us control. So,
And compaction and all that stuff,
yeah,
yeah.
if we're gonna go to the end, I wouldn't want to go more than 120 days. Right?
That'd be a
As soon as
total of
possible,
100
that's all I know, as soon as possible.
180,
They
6
get the,
months.
6 months.
you can jack it up and move it tomorrow,
Says
that'd be
it
great.
does.
To November, December.
Yeah, now we're not doing anything till next year to even start.
So 60.
I like 60, but, I get it out of here. But if 60 is unreasonable,
Well, the other thing is that this is going to be the contractor responding, so they'll know all that when they respond. So they can either do that or they can't.
Yeah, if they can't
Theoretically.
move forward with the other
right.
option.
Or they can come and say, look, I can do this, but it needs to be
Right, we
90.
need,
or
we
it
need more
needs-
time.
Right. I would rather put the shorter leash on to start and have the contractor say, I can do this, but I need an additional 30 days. And it's 90, we win, instead of we put out 180, and they're like, okay, now they're taking their time.
So can you put in the documents that if you're on, like, in the bid, whatever, if you're unable to meet the timeline, give us a timeline of what you can accomplish?
Yeah,
All
and
of
that's
this.
usually an option under the exceptions to the bid package or something like that they could identify. But I can do something more explicit.
Yeah, I would rather them tell us,
A lot of
I can do
these-
it, but I need 30 more days and do it in 90, than we put
Yeah.
out 180 and we just lost 90 days,
Good point, good point.
right?
Yeah.
Just put that in there as soon as possible.
I like that we're moving forward with both options, from the standpoint that, we've had concerns from town council members and other members. We're destroying a house, so at least we give the public or, people the option that if they want it, buy it, move it, we're not destroying it. So again, I like-
And somebody could get in there and go, you can't move this house. I mean, that's always been a possibility.
Right.
That, the correct contractor gets in there and goes, sorry, you can't move this house. I mean, it's just not movable.
It's pretty cool inside,
Yeah.
There's,
I mean,
beams.
I've seen, literally stood at a site and saw houses move that you thought were gonna come apart. That looked much worse than that. And they get them moved. So, the likelihood of not being able to move it is pretty slim. Yeah. It's not decrepit, it's just old.
It's more the foundation
Right,
on it.
right. Okay, what do we need to do?
Really, we're saving a house. 'Cause
Correct.
the foundation's crumbling.
That's correct, because the house might have gone with the foundation. That's right. So what do we need to do today?
So we would need a motion to bid for advertisement to either to move it or to relocate it or to demolish.
Well, don't we, actually, what we're putting out is a demolition bid?
The one before you, if we want to go with that, it's just the removal of the structure,
Yeah,
not the demolition of it necessarily.
Can we move forward with both? Because like we said, if we get
Yeah,
no,
it's
if we
just
get
whether-
no
whether-
interest to move,
Well, do we want to do that all at once, or do we want to do this one first and then after the next meeting, if
Can
we
we
get
do them
responses or not? we do-
simultaneously?
I would just need to revise the package to account for.
So it's a yes. We can do it.
well, we know you're good enough to do it.
Just need to be
Do you
tweaked.
want to do it? That's the question.
Yeah, I just would need to,
I think the challenge is that, I'd be okay just doing a demolition order because based on what the prior action of the board or a demolition bid, but it's the idea of this is to, allow the opportunity for salvage. I think the challenge of putting them out in the same bid package is you probably just, because the salvaging is a little bit more unique, you're probably just gonna get responses just for the demo part. And so if you want to pursue salvage, I think you have to do that separately. And then if you don't get anything in June, then you just do straight demo. And on demo, it won't take as long because that's much simpler. But
No, I think that makes sense. I think that adds clarity to it as well. What we really
However
want
we
to
get
do is
where we need
give
to
it,
go.
we want to give people an opportunity to salvage the property first.
30 days.
One step,
Yeah.
two steps.
then when if we don't get anything, at the next meeting, we can issue a request for quotes with a 30-day timeline. And then we're in the
There
same
you, right,
position.
exactly, and we're in the same position.
Perfect.
Okay,
Do that one.
yeah.
Plan A.
So
Whatever we call that.
removal of the home.
Yeah, the salvage removal and relocation, right?
We don't have to bid on the other one. We just have to, vote on
Right.
the first option.
All right, so I will make a motion that we proceed with the quote solicitation for the salvage removal and relocation of the residential structure process.
Second it.
Mike made a motion, John seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no.
No.
Did you get that, Jesse? Thank you. Motion does pass. Our next redevelopment commission meeting will be here at the town hall at Thursday, June 25th, 2026, at 7 a.m. We are adjourned.